So forget what you know about museums. What if you could actually buy a ticket to the past and see history for yourself? It's an incredible idea, right? But it also opens up a huge can of worms. I mean, if we could all just zip back in time, what would stop us from changing, well, everything? And who would even be in charge of making the rules? Let's get into it.
This is the big one, isn't it? It's the question that really fuels all our time travel dreams. The idea that you could go back, fix that one mistake, maybe prevent a disaster, or, let's be honest, get really rich. It is the ultimate what if, and it's pretty much the central problem in every time travel story ever told.
And right away, that whole fantasy just slams into a logical brick wall. We're talking about the grandfather paradox. You know the one. If you go back and get rid of your own grandfather, you're never born, which means you could never have built the time machine to go back in the first place. Whoa. It's this self-destructing loop, and it's a fundamental problem that any real theory of time travel has to solve. Okay, so before we can even begin to think about human laws and regulations, we have to deal with the laws of physics. And it turns out the universe might just have its own police force, one that's way, way more powerful than any law we could ever write. This brings us to a really fascinating idea from a physicist named Igor Novikov. He called it the self-consistency principle. And the core idea is actually pretty simple. The universe just will not allow a paradox to happen, period. According to this principle, any action you could take that would create a logical contradiction is just physically impossible. So what does that actually mean? Well, to put it simply, if an event would break the timeline, the probability of that event happening is zero. It's not that some time cop shows up and stops you, it's that the universe itself makes sure it just can't happen, full stop. Okay, but what if you really, really tried? Like, what if you built a perfect automated machine designed to do nothing but create a paradox? Well, physicists thought about that too, and it led to this absolutely brilliant thought experiment. So check this out. It's called Polchinski's paradox. Imagine you shoot a billiard ball towards a time machine. Its path is perfectly calculated so it'll pop out in the past and knock its younger self off course, preventing it from ever entering the time machine to begin with. See? It's a perfect paradox. So, what happens?
Well, you got to remember the rule. The Novikov principle says the timeline has to be self-consistent. The universe can't just break. It has to find a way to make it all make sense. And here's the genius solution. The universe makes a tiny, tiny adjustment. The ball comes out of the time machine at a slightly different angle than you planned. It doesn't miss, but it doesn't cause that paradox-inducing collision either. Instead, it delivers a little glancing blow that changes the younger ball's path just enough so that it still ends up going into the wormhole, travels back in time, and delivers that exact same glancing blow. The loop is closed, perfectly consistent.
So here's the bottom line. According to this principle, you simply cannot change the past. Not because it's against the rules, but because the very fabric of space-time will subtly conspire to make sure that whatever you do in the past is exactly what happened all along. Your actions don't change history, they become history.
Oh, right. So if physics itself already prevents us from messing with the past, that raises a pretty big question for us humans. If the universe has its own unbreakable law, then what's the point of us making our own rules for time travel?
I mean, seriously. This is the core problem, right? If a time traveler goes back to try and get rid of their grandfather, physics would make them fail. Maybe their gun jams. Maybe they trip on a banana peel. Who knows? The point is they can't succeed. So, what crime did they actually commit?
And that leads us to this chilling idea, which comes from the story that inspired the movie Minority Report. A time cop wouldn't be arresting people for something they did because, remember, it was impossible for them to do it. They'd be arresting them for what they tried to do.
This brings us to the really unsettling concept of pre-crime. It's a justice system that doesn't punish you for your actions before your intentions. In our time travel world, it would be a system designed to punish someone for a crime that is literally, physically impossible to even commit.
So let's just break that down. You know, traditional law is reactive. Somebody does something bad, and then there are consequences. But a pre-crime system is proactive. It punishes you for what you were going to do, even if you never actually get the chance. So any temporal authority would be in a very, very strange business. It'd be a police force dedicated to punishing people for attempting the impossible. You'd be arrested and thrown in jail for your thoughts alone. I mean, that's a seriously profound and ethically murky shift in how we even define justice.
Okay, so if we can't change the past, and just trying to is a legal and ethical nightmare, then why are we so obsessed with going there in the first place? This gets us to the human side of the whole thing.
You know, maybe it's not really about changing history at all. Maybe it's just about connecting with it. We want to see it, hear it, feel it, not to alter anything, but just to be a witness, to really understand where we came from on a much, much deeper level.
And there's actually a concept that captures this perfectly. It's called material culture. The basic idea is that historical objects, old tools, buildings, pieces of art, they aren't just dead things. They're like living history. They're events that have soaked up all the information and memory from their long journey through time.
Just look at this old brick for a second. Every single crack, every little bit of erosion, every worn surface, it all tells a story. That isn't just damage. It is the physical evidence of time itself. It's the literal record of the past that has somehow survived all the way to the present.
So when you think about it that way, we already have a kind of time travel. When an archaeologist carefully unearths an ancient artifact, or a historian preserves a fragile old book, they're letting us connect with a moment in the past. They're making time into something real, something tangible.
So we've looked at the physics, we've looked at the law, and we've looked at the human desire behind it all, which leaves us with one final big question. Let's pull all these threads together.
So where does all this leave us? Well, we've seen how the fundamental laws of physics might just make the past totally unchangeable. We've talked about the ethical nightmare of policing pre-crimes, and we've realized that we actually already have a way to connect with the past right here, right now, through the things it's left behind.
And that brings us to one last thought. If we could go back in time, but only as silent, invisible observers, totally unable to change a single thing, should we even do it? Would it be the greatest history lesson imaginable? Or would it be the ultimate form of torture, seeing it all but being unable to act? It's a question worth thinking about.